Hey everybody, it's Dr. Joe here on this Wednesday evening. Hope all is well wherever you are. It's kind of rainy where we are in the DC area today, and so on. So we got another Wealth Wednesday today, and we got quite an interesting topic. We're going to be talking about really house hacking and all the strategies associated with house hacking. So I'm looking forward to this discussion. Hopefully, it'll be informative and hopefully it'll give you some food for thought, especially if you want to implement this strategy. Before we get too far, I just wanted to talk about the event we had on Saturday. Great networking event. We had a very good turnout, and it was fun. And the good thing was that it gave an opportunity for people to hear about a house that come and see a house that I own. I had a tenant, a prospective tenant who's moving into the house. She attended, and so I think for the first time, people will get a chance to meet and speak with a quote Section 8 tenant. And I think they realize that they're good people, and she did well. And thank you very much, Miss Erica, for showing up on Saturday. And I think educating people on voucher holders, tenants, and not all voucher holders fit the stereotype that society has of them. So she'll be moving into that property July the 1st. And I look forward to that one, wrapping up the process with her. But we had a really good session. And hopefully, if all goes well, we'll probably do another networking event in the near future. So if you haven't signed up for my website, go to my website and register, and I'll notify you when that's going to take place, probably the next 2 or 3 months, and then we'll do it every now and then. So and so on. So anyway, in terms of other thing, I will be going on vacation. I'm going to a wedding in Mexico next Wednesday, so I'll be doing a Wealth Wednesday, but it won't be live. And then I'm going to go to London in the early part of July, and for another wedding over there as well. So it'll be interesting for the next few weeks on Wealth Wednesdays, but I'll try and keep it going as much as possible. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about house hacking, and we all know that a house hacking is a term that was coined. I think it was coined by Brandon Turner from Bigger Pockets, and but I've been doing house hacking for a long time, probably before the term was even coined up. And what I called it, I didn't call it house hacking. I called it, how in the world can I get my rent reduced? How in the world can I get this house to pay for itself by having some prospective roommates in the house? Obviously, that's a very wordy way. House hacking sounds a lot shorter, a lot quicker, and I think more marketable. So anyway, so owning a house, we all know that owning real estate over time allows us to build wealth. And but another strategy, which I think is being overlooked by a lot of people, is this whole notion of house hacking. I'll define what it means by in a second. But essentially, what it means is that it really allows you, us, to buy a property and rent part of that space out. Okay, so an example would be if I have a single family house and I may rent a room out, and I may remodel a basement, I may remodel a back an attic, and I may have a 4-unit building and rent one of the units out, or several of the units out. So the idea is that we are getting rental income as a means to offset the housing, the mortgage, and the expenses associated with that property. So it does allow us to pay down the mortgage faster. It does allow us to stay in the home for reduced housing cost, and it really is a win-win. And in fact, the second house I bought, the second house I bought, it was in Washington D.C., and I bought that house with the specific intentions of see if I can rent part of the space out. So this particular house had a basement, an English basement with an entrance in, and the front and the back, and so I could make that into an apartment. And also, there was 3 bedrooms upstairs. I lived in one, and I rented the other 2 out. So essentially, what happened was that let's say I had a mortgage of $2,000. Then I rented the basement out. Let's just say, I don't know, $1,200. And then I rented let's just say I rented the basement out for $1,400 a month. And my mortgage payment was $2,000. And I rented each of the rooms upstairs for $300 each, which makes it $600. So I rented the basement for $1,400, rented the two rooms upstairs for $300 each. That makes it a total of $600. So 600 plus 14 is 2,000. And essentially, I lived in that house for zero. So instead of me paying $2,000 a month, if I didn't quote unquote house hack, I was living in a house for free. And in the reality, though, I was making more money because the rents exceeded the mortgage that I was paying. So I lived in a house for essentially free. In fact, I was being paid to live in the house. And what did that mean? It meant that I was saving quote unquote $2,000 a month, which then I was able to set that aside, and then I was able to have that build up, and then I use that $2,000 a month quote unquote saving to then use that towards a down payment for the next house, and so forth and so on. So you follow what I'm saying? If I didn't house hack, it will be very difficult for me to have saved that $2,000 a month, because housing costs are so high that it's very hard to save money. So if you can drive that cost of housing down, then you can use the savings, if you're disciplined, towards savings, which you can then use to build up your portfolio. So that's essentially what it's all about. It's a means to reduce your housing costs. And if you're smart, if you're a savvy investor like we all are, we're going to use that savings towards acquiring more properties and building more wealth. And yes, when I house hacked, yes, I had some roommates, so it was a little bit uncomfortable. I didn't have the full use of the house, but I was okay with that, because I knew it was a short-term strategy. It was just a means to an end. And so I put up with the short-term inconveniences because I had a long-term goal, a long-term plan, a long-term strategy, which to start building my real estate portfolio. And I couldn't do that if I couldn't somehow cut down on my expenses. So I hope that makes sense. So I bought single-family homes. A lot of people buy apartments. If you saw the video I did, in fact, one of my students, she's bought a 4-bedroom unit, 4-bedroom apartment building. And so she's going to live in one of the units, and then she's going to have, rent the other 3. And so that's another form of house hacking as well. So the idea is that those 3 other units will pay or offset the debt and the mortgage that she has. And therefore, if she's lucky, she may live in that house or her unit for next to nothing or significantly reduced costs. In the Washington, D.C. area, for example, the housing is just so expensive that if you can't drive that cost down, it's just very, very difficult to save money. So, and what does it mean? It means that if we can stay in that house for a little while, it's going to build up in equity, and then hopefully we can either sell the house, sell the building, get some cash, or we can refinance, keep the asset, and then use that savings to buy more properties. Okay, so so really, a house hacking strategy is a very good way of jump starting your real estate goals and your real estate portfolio and so on. So what does what's it called? Talks about what does it mean. I've explained what house hacking is, and so what I'm going to do now is kind of talk about some of the benefits. I've kind of summarized that already, but house hacking is a good strategy for people who want to slowly get into real estate, invest in business. Essentially what you are is a quote unquote landlord. You're slowly introduced to being a landlord at your own property as opposed to a property that you don't live at. The other good thing is that, since it's your residence where you are implementing the house hacking strategy, you can get better financing because it's your primary residence. And so you can get better loan terms and better interest rate and lower down payment. So it's a good way to get in, at a much significantly reduced prices and rates than if you were buying it as an investment property where you didn't live there. So, we all know that, what's it called? Primary residence financing is always cheaper than investment property financing. So again, you are slowly introduced to become quote unquote a landlord, and since it's your property and you live there, you don't have to go to the other side of town if something goes wrong. You're actually in the building, literally, and so you can essentially immediately address whatever the issues are, and again, you can slowly but surely get introduced to becoming a landlord. So what are some of the what's it called? I'll just talk. Sorry. What are some of the benefits of house hacking? As I said, it allows you to get in without a whole lot of money, and primary residence financing. You can reduce your housing cost. You can take advantage, since it's a business, since you are renting it. You can take advantage of some of the tax benefits associated with owning rental property, such as the cost of repair, depreciation. You can also reduce your net taxable income because the rents that you're collecting can be offset by the expenses, depreciation, and other things that you would be able to do otherwise. So house hacking also, as I said before, since you live there, it really does reduce unproductive time for travel because you actually own the property, and therefore, since you already live there, hopefully you'll be a lot more attentive to problems. And the other thing, as I said before, is that it does introduce you slowly but surely to become a landlord, and does slowly but surely introduce you into the buy and hold strategy and the real estate investment strategy. Okay, so that's the benefits. And so let's talk about also next is okay, so benefits. I talk about some of the what do you call it? Let's have got my notes here. So the common house hacking strategies that are associated with house hacking. So what are some of the strategies you can do? I've talked about multifamily. One of my students is doing that now. Her strategy is to buy a 4-unit building, live in one, rent 3 out. It's a primary residence, so she's got very favorable financing, and now she's able to drive her costs down as that way. I did it for single family houses. So as I said before, I bought a house with multiple bedrooms. I lived in one, rented out some other spaces out. The basement was a self-contained unit, and therefore I didn't really have to interact with a person downstairs. So you can also do the same thing, whereby you can maybe in your home, you may be able to carve out a garage or basement, and whereby it also has its own bathroom, maybe it has its own kitchen, and therefore there's not much interaction between you and the prospective tenants. There are ways to obviously convert. It may require a little bit of renovations, a little bit of rehab work, but hopefully not a whole lot. So houses with attics, houses with garages, and houses with basements are also very good candidates. Again, these are some of the things that you can look for when you are deciding whether to buy this particular house or not. Does it have the opportunity to to get some additional rental income from this house? So you may see a house and it may be very appealing, because you can sort of imagine, well, maybe I can the garage here, I can maybe use that, turn that into a separate unit, or the basement. I may be able to carve out some space where it's got a bedroom, it's got a bathroom down there, and maybe I can put a kitchen there, and hopefully I can have an apartment there, which I can then use to rent out. So, and the other strategy that some people do is what we call, what do they call it? Additional dwelling unit, ADUs. Okay. ADUs, which are essentially properties whereby it may have, an offsite building, and the loss of the, let me just get this right. The the footprint of the lot could be such that there may be a structure that you can build, or a structure that's already there, which you could then create or turn into a unit, which you can then rent and and get some additional income that way. Maybe a guest room, a mother-in-law suite, or something like that. So these are the common strategies that people use in terms of house hacking. Again, we're going to be going to Q&A shortly. Hopefully this is interesting. And we're going to go to the Q&A portion very shortly. So if you got some questions, please enter them in the chat box, and I will try to get to them as soon as possible. It's about another 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, how to successfully house hack a property. So how do we do that? And I'm going to break it down to 5 steps. Okay, so step number 1 is understand the financing options first. Okay, there are different types of financing that's available to you, because you're going to need to know, how am I going to get this money? Where am I going to get the money to buy this this property where I can implement the house hacking strategy? So financing is a key, and since it's your primary residence that you'll be living at, you can qualify for different types of loan programs, conventional loans, along with also FHA and VA loans. Okay, I mentioned that interest rates can be very attractive because it's your primary residence, and the down payment requirements are also very attractive. It could be 3%, 5%, 10%, but it's a lot less than if it was just a straightforward investment property. And also, if you're a veteran, you may be able to get a VA loan whereby you don't have to pay any down payment. Okay, so the first thing is understanding the financing options that's available to you. There's quite a few to implement this house hacking strategy. Number 2 is you got to obviously search for a good property where you can actually implement the house hack. So property that the other thing I want to say is that a house hack property may be a little different than one that you would buy if you weren't going to a house hack. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Essentially, what you're looking for in a house hack property is the ability to generate some income from that house. Whereas if you're not going to implement the house hack strategy, certain things may not be important to you. Okay, so you've got to understand what the characteristics of a good house hack property are. As I said before, basements, extra bedrooms, an attic, an ADU in the back, or a lot available to add a structure. And these are things which are very good characteristics for a house hack. And and then you got to make your property, renovate it or upgrade it in such a way that you can actually rent out part of that space. So, for example, the basement, if you want the basement to be a self-contained unit, then you're going to have to put in there a kitchen. You may also have to put in there a bathroom, whereas the basement may not already comprise a kitchen or bathroom right now. So you're going to have to carve out some space, have the foresight to figure out how to do that. Okay, so what are some of the common factors that you should look for when you're considering choosing a good rental property? Things are like the usual stuff: the neighborhood. What type of tenants will you be able to attract if you were to buy that house in that neighborhood? What are the property tax rates? Is this a low property tax place or not, or is it high? Because obviously property taxes is going to affect your mortgage payments. The school district, is it easy to attract tenants because of the school district? What's the crime rate? And generally, what's the overall neighborhood rating for that? That, because all those things will affect your ability to attract tenants, and also will affect your ability to to have high occupancy level for your home. Job market and population growth is also important. Obviously, you want to buy the property in an area whereby there are jobs, and hopefully there are more jobs moving in than moving out, because as more jobs are available, people will then tend to resonate to live there. And also, you want to know what the average rents are and the rent growths, so that way you can determine whether you can get rent increases and things like that. So search for a good property. These are some of the things you may want to consider. Number 3 is crunch the numbers. before you make an offer. So you got to figure out, if I was to buy this house, what do the numbers look like? What's the rent I can, generate from this house? What's the expenses? What's the mortgage is going to be? Am I going to get negative, positive cash flow? How many bedrooms can I rent out, for this unit and so forth. So you're going to have to crunch the numbers and then do your analysis and then make that determination whether this makes sense or whether it doesn't make sense. Number 4 is to, obviously, once you've bought the house, once you've decided I'm going to go for this house and you ran the numbers, you then have to close escrow, move into the property and make any updates to the house in order to get it ready for renting. Okay, so closing costs, obviously, is your primary residence. So typically closing costs are anywhere between 3 and 5% of the loan amount. And that's in addition to the down payment. After taking title to the property, you're going to have to figure out, okay, what kind of upgrades do I need to do, if any? The first house that I did, I had to make the basement ready for a rental. I did put a kitchen down there. I did fix up the bathroom down there. And so I had to do some repairs. And obviously, if the more detailed the repairs, the more extensive the repairs, the more you're going to have to pay in terms of the overall cost of things. So you're going to need to find out how much it's going to cost to add another bedroom, another bathroom, upgrade the attic, the basement, and so forth. Okay. And if you have a multifamily unit, how much it's going to cost to add another unit down there or to upgrade one of the units and so on. So you're going to close, you're going to move in, you're going to make repairs. And again, part 5 is then you have to find a good tenant. Finding a good tenant is the absolute key. If you mess up on this one, you are in for a rude awakening. So, people are house hacking, obviously, at some point, going to need to rent the property, which means that you have to be knowledgeable about local, state, and federal housing laws, and such that you avoid breaking the law and discriminating against certain tenants. There are what we call protected classes, so you have to make sure that you're knowledgeable about those different classes. They're at the federal level and also at the state and local level. Then you're going to need to obviously screen tenants, which means that you have to sort of put certain things in place, application forms, develop some criteria, your minimum tenant criteria. You're going to have to screen the tenants for ability to pay the security deposit. An application fee is maybe due. You may have to conduct some kind of background checks. So a lot of things you're going to do once you gather the information from these prospects, you then have to make calls either to their jobs, current and previous landlords, and to verify information on the application. And then ultimately, you're going to have to decide who the best candidate is, and then you sign a lease with that person. So these are important things. I'm going to wrap it up in a second. So how much money do you need to house hack? Unless it's a fixer-upper, you shouldn't need a lot beyond purchasing a house. Obviously, if it's going to require a lot of rehab, then you're going to, have some rehab expenses you have to take into account. So the common, obviously, options if you want to raise money for that is to get the conventional loans, sort of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, conforming loans, FHA, and so on. So, these are the type of loans that you're going to need in order to purchase a property and then get the place ready. And then finally, wrapping things up, let's have a look. So house hacking can be a good strategy. It's an excellent way to get started in real estate investing if you don't have a lot of money, because you're buying your property as your primary residence, and you can get better terms for your money. And also you can drive down your housing costs, which for most people is the largest expense that they incur. So if you can figure a way to make extra bedrooms or extra units in a multifamily, house hacking can be a really, really good strategy to start off with. I did it. It worked out well for me. It allowed me to save a lot of money, which I then used to acquire more properties and start building my portfolio. So with that said and done, my friends, we're going to go to Q&A. So enter your questions in the chat box. And if you want to communicate with me, I'm available on Instagram and also on Facebook. And you can shoot me an email at joe@joeasimo.com, joe@joeasimo.com. So with that said and done, my friends, I'm going to go to the Q&A. I didn't do too badly at 7:30. I got a few minutes left, and let's see how far we can go. So let's have a look. Who do we have here? I'm Afid. Good evening. Hope you're doing well. Nevin Brown. Hey, how's it going, man? And also Delonde Leon. Hope you're doing well, Delonde. And Valerie McMullen. Hello, everyone. So glad to be here. I'm very glad that you're here as well. And about that wallet. What a strange name. Hope you're doing well. About that wallet. And you are ready for a tenant. What do you do next? Okay, let's have a look. Let me see if let's have a look. I think your question comes in several parts about that wallet. So you're ready for a tenant. What do you do next? And I think you said, do you recommend going to landlord and tenant court to see what to put in your contract? And you also said, what service do you recommend for background checks? Let's have a look. Okay, so your scenario is you got a place and you are going to get it ready for a rental. And so what do you do? Your first part is, do you recommend going to landlord tenant court to see what's in your contract? I do recommend going to landlord court anyway to learn about the local laws. You know, you want to know about what works, what doesn't work, what the what are some of the do's and don'ts, what are some of the legal requirements of you about your property. So I do recommend that you go to a landlord court anyway. Now, whether you go to landlord court for a contract, no, I would say you go to an attorney for a contract, and or go to a property management company for your contract, for your lease, as opposed to going to a landlord tenant court. Landlord tenant court will tell you about all the difficult relationships that are out there between landlords and tenants, and the common disputes, and how judges decide on who how to act accordingly. So what service do you recommend for background checks? There's quite a few background screening companies. There's a lot of them. I would suggest that you do a Google search on rental or tenant background searches, and you'll find a slew of different companies that will provide you with that service. Good questions about that wallet. And let's have a look. And thank you for sharing this, Gwendolyn Pye Butler. Oh, thank you. No problem. Again, if you got some questions, please shoot them out in the chat box, and I will try to wrap it up in a few seconds, since it's 7:30. Trying to shoot for 7:30 each of these sessions should be. So about that wallet, do you have a website for tenants to search? To start the search, do you have a website for tenants to start the search? Well, I list my properties, and when I list the properties, I usually advertise like in Zillow and some of these sites, and people are interested. I do typically make an appointment to go for them to see the house. Give them an application form. If they're interested, they will fill the application form out. I then start the screening process. And so I don't have a website for tenants to start the search, but tenants, typically, I tend to advertise in places where the tenants I'm looking for are likely to go search for. So depending on where you are about that wallet, you may want to find out, the most common platforms where you should be advertising. If you're using, for example, if you're trying to attract Section 8 voucher holders, then you want to advertise in places where the voucher holders are more likely to be. So I would definitely, find out from your housing authority, where do they recommend their tenants to go, and you want to make sure that you advertise there as well. So good question though. My name is Anthony. Thanks for answering my questions. Good questions, Anthony. And I wonder where about that wallet comes from. Maybe you got lots of money. Let's have a look. And so got some thumbs up here from Gwendolyn and also Brian. Hey, Brian, hope you're doing well. And Brian is a local real estate a rehabber, and he's got a contractor, and he has, he's very familiar with the whole construction process and things like that. Great networking event you had. Love the renovation. Positive meeting other business-minded folks. Oh yeah, we had a great time on Saturday. It's a very, very good time. I mean, I was really pleased with how it turned out. We had a good turnout. It gave people a chance to walk through a real property, one of my properties, rental properties, and gave people an opportunity to see a tenant, a voucher holder. Many people saw a voucher holder for the first time. And it was a great chance to meet like-minded people as part of the networking portion of the event. It was good, and I said great feedback, and hopefully I'll try and do that again in the very near future. Okay, it's my podcast. Okay, wow, about the wallet. Anthony is definitely asking a lot of questions. So if you got some questions, I'm gonna wrap this up in a second. If you got some questions, put them in the chat box, and I'll try and go to it as soon as I possibly can. I do need a contractor in DC, and sorry I couldn't make the event. Okay, if you need a contractor, shoot me an email, and I'll be more than happy to help you out if I can on that score. Contractors, there's a lot of good contracts out here. There's also a lot of iffy ones. So if you're doing, depends how much rehab you're going to be doing, but that's getting a good contract is the make or break. If you get a good contractor, you'll have a great time. If you don't, it could be a disaster waiting to happen. Valerie McMillan, are you taking any more students to coach and mentor? Interesting question. Maybe shoot me an email, Valerie. I'm not actively looking for new students, but I'm always trying to help people. So shoot me an email. Not an email. Shoot me an email. And you can reach me at joe@joeasimo.com. joe@joeasimo.com. Explain your situation. Let's see if I can help you out. I do have a program out here right now, but I'm not really pushing it. Because reach out to me, and I'll see if we can see what we do. Let me know where you're based, Valerie. If which jurisdiction, which geographical area you're in, what state, city you're in. Obviously I'm in the Washington, D.C. area, so let's see if I can help you out. Okay, my friends, I'm going to try and wrap it up now because it's 7:35, and I'm trying to make these sessions about 30 minutes long compared to the old days when it was like 60 minutes long. So I'm trying to make it 30 minutes as opposed to 60 minutes and so on. So with that said and done, my friends, I will see you. Like I said, I'm going out of the country next week. A good friend of mine, Andre, is getting married, and I'm going to the wedding overseas for that one, Mexico. And then shortly after that, come back to the US and go off to London for another wedding as well. So going to be a wedding season, as they say, and so on. So hope everyone's doing well. Have yourself a wonderful week. And thank you, Sonic One, for the kind words. A great session. So I'll see you all next Wednesday. I may be traveling next Wednesday, so I may have to do a Wealth Wednesday, which is going to be recorded as opposed to live. And again, give me some thumbs up. Don't forget to share, like the broadcast with your friends and subscribe as well. And I'll see you next Wealth Wednesday, next Wednesday. Same time, same place. Take care. Have a good one. Bye for now.